we initially got an email on the Table Talk email ID saying, we are reaching out from the marketing communications department at Apple, and we would love to feature your website on the Safari web page that they have on Apple's website. So we're like,
Okay.
yeah, cool. This sounds amazing. This is a really huge opportunity for us and to just get more visibility. So we're like, yeah, definitely sign us up. It happened. So we had no idea when they were going to actually launch it, when it was going to go live. We had absolutely zero idea about that. But the day of the Apple event, 3 or 4 friends of mine sent me like videos and screenshots of the Table Talk website on the live event. And they were like, Shivani, did you know about this? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. And I was in the middle of an office meeting and I'm seeing my phone blow up on the side and everybody's sending me these videos and pictures. And I said, wait a minute, we were on the live event and we did not even know about it.
Today's episode is going to be super duper exciting. I welcome you back to the Daily Ish Pod. In this episode, we have, as you have already heard and seen, we have Shivani and Adhishree from Table Talk who will be joining us in this conversation. So Shivani is staying in US and Adhishree is in India, and these two cousins got together and built this amazing project called Table Talk, which is about food, stories around food and visual communication around food. And their website got handpicked for the Apple Spring event. It was featured on the presentation of the Apple launch. And I was very excited to see that. And then I did a video on our channel, on our YouTube channel, The Fun Indian Guy, where we went into all these different websites which were featured in the Apple event, and we did a small case study of that. And then I got in touch with these girls at Table Talk, and I invited them on our podcast to share the whole journey about how they built this project, what is this project about, and how they're collaborating across these two countries and building this meaningful project, which also got showcased at such high level. And that's what we will be doing in today's episode. And Shivani and Adhishree will walk us through their process and everything. And it's a very exciting episode. Very happy to present it to you. And finally, we are also bringing the guest episode back on the YouTube channel. So you can watch this episode. If you're listening to it, just go to the Fun Indian Guy YouTube channel and watch this episode. And if you're watching it and if you want to listen to it, just go to any of the podcasting apps and search for Daily Ish Pod. That's the podcast which we run. And just enjoy this amazing conversation. With that, I'm going to quickly introduce myself and welcome you back to the Daily Ish Pod. My name is Suyog, also known as the Fun Indian Guy. I'm a creative strategy and innovation consultant right now working with a bunch of clients across the globe. If you are interested in that, just put a comment down below or reach out on Instagram. I have academic background in service design. I'm also a musician, filmmaker, podcaster, and a founder of an online innovation lab called Futuring Now, where we run amazing hands-on innovation workshops for individual corporates and also startups. And this is the Daily Ish Pod, and this is the Fun Indian Guy channel as well, where we talk about creativity, design, innovation, and lifestyle. With that said, guys, let's go and have this amazing discussion with people from Table Talk. Let's go. Adhishree and Shivani, thank you so much for joining. Super happy to have you here. Very excited to get the conversation started. How about let's begin with a small introduction of you, like where do you come from, the context, education or whatever. Also where from, like the origin, where location, where are you from or something like that would be super cool to have. So you pick who goes first.
Adhishree goes first.
Well, since I'm the older cousin, I'll start. My name is Adhishree, and originally from Nagpur, but grew up in Bangalore and spent the last almost 17 years in Pune. Did a lot of the usual BA and did my master's, etc. And I think a huge part of my identity is sort of just working in the nonprofit space in education. So spent the last decade doing that. And currently I'm working out of Bangalore, so come back here after a very long time and working with a nonprofit again, but this time with communications and design. So really enjoying that.
Super. And Shivani?
Hi guys, I'm Shivani. I am a graphic designer and currently based out of Baltimore, Maryland. So I moved to the States almost 3 years ago to pursue my master's in graphic design. And before that, I was a biotechnologist back in India. So nice. I did my undergrad and I went to grad school for biotechnology and then made the switch, decided to pursue design and then moved here for my master's. And currently I work as a designer at Spotify. So that's pretty exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I saw some stuff on your Instagram about the playlist artwork and
Oh
everything.
yeah,
Super, super cool. Nice stuff.
yeah. Thank you.
So, let's also talk about. We will talk about the origin story of the project. Before that, can you tell me briefly how do you define this project? If somebody asks you what is it?
So it's really interesting because it kind of expands with every conversation, and we love that about it. We're not kind of defined by a really hard concept. It just did with an idea, and it's expanding with every conversation. So that's great. But I think at the core of it, it is just a digital archive of personal histories, and food being the anchor. Because I think both Shivani and I kind of connected on that idea that through food, you can obviously, revisit memories, but you're also telling a history of you, your people. And that's, an interesting history lesson to just sit and, have somebody take you through. So I think that's the core, but it's a fluid idea and it's evolving.
Right. And Shivani, do you also define it the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, like as from the point of view of a designer, I think tying that idea of food with really good design, I think just takes it to a whole new level. So I think that bit of the project was equally important to me, is that you not just narrate stories, but narrate stories in a way that make people want to go there and read about them. So yeah.
Nice. So, just to understand what happened before the project, did you guys like used to work together, make some stuff together when you were kids or something like that? Did you have history then?
Not at all, actually. I think we would just spend our vacations copying each other's handwriting. I think that's the maximum collaboration we've ever done. But no, and I think I've just always been in awe of just Shivani's journey, through biotech and then design. She always, I think, since as far as I can remember, always loved, I mean, that time it was handwriting, but now, it's typography. But, she always had an eye and an interest towards that. And so did I. And our grandfather was an architect. And so I think a little bit comes from him as well. And so I think that was the maximum. And I think the pandemic threw both of us in a loop that, she was kind of looking for something, I was looking for something. And it was a WhatsApp message saying, hey, do you want to do something together? And she said, yes. And that was it.
Hell yes.
Nice. But why was it yes? Like, were you not occupied by something, or you had a lot of time and you wanted to explore something? Like, why? Because most of the times what I feel like, even I want to do a lot of projects, but the time has to be right to start it. Like, everything needs to match. So why was the beginning then?
I think in this case, it was more like, so Adhishree and I had been speaking about doing some sort of collaboration at some point in our lives together. And I think the only thing we had managed to do in all of these years was me hand lettering her guests' names for her wedding cards. I remember that like very clearly. Like I'd come over like one evening and Adhishree was like, okay, this is the list and these are the cards, and can you just like, hand letter it really nicely. So that was the most extreme level of collaboration we had done so far, and we wanted to, I think, take it to a more serious level. And I think when Adhishree was working on the food glom, which was sort of part one or the prequel of Table Talk, I think during that process, I think we both knew that, we both love food and we are inclined towards, bringing all of this together in some way. So I think the pandemic just, I don't know if it definitely played a crucial part in all of this, but to me, it was more like, okay, we are so far apart and we just miss home and we miss all of the food that we used to eat. So it was just sort of the best time to get together and work on it during the pandemic.
Nice.
Yeah, I think when I first also thought about Table Talk, I was very keen and very sure that I wanted design to be a huge part of that experience. Like, I didn't want it to just be something that people read, but there's got to be some experience to it.
Right.
And obviously, I had seen Shivani's work. So, yeah, in all honesty, if she didn't have the time last year, this wouldn't have happened. Like, I would have waited for her to get free and then we would have, done it. So, that was also a huge, that played a huge role in just us, reaching out to each other and collaborating.
Nice. And so basically, Adhishree pitched the idea to Shivani. Was that the thing?
Yeah, definitely. And it started with the smallest WhatsApp message. She was like, hey, I have this idea about this little platform I'm thinking of launching. Do you want to collaborate? Like, that's about it. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. With zero details. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Nice. And how were your earlier, let's say, brainstorming sessions? Like, because you had the origin or the seed of the idea. Like, how did you develop it? What did you talk about? Like, what was these earlier conversations like?
Sure, I can get us started, and Shivani, you can jump in. I think it started off with just kind of getting Shivani to understand what this is about and what we're trying to do with a platform like this. So, it's not a blog, it's not a business, it's not an enterprise, it's somewhere in between. Think of a photo album of just food memories, and people are kind of going one page to another. And yeah, luckily Shivani kind of really understood the ethos of the idea. And so even if you look at, and she can talk more about this, but the landing page, which is like a tablecloth, and then you have those things moving around, which is which is in a way trying to mimic you passing on plates when you're at a table, and therefore conversation,
right,
or idea. And that was it. Like, when we both arrived at that tablecloth, I knew she had understood the concept, and then it was just like free flowing from there. A lot of the illustrations, I think I really appreciated the fact that she read through it, she understood what it was about. So it wasn't just, like, it was true collaboration in that sense. She really understood what stood out. And for me, it was really important to give her literally a blank canvas, because I'm like, okay, she's the ultimate reader. And if that is standing out to her and she's illustrating that, then that's it.
Right.
And so I think that really worked for us, I think. Shivani, if you want to
for sure. Yeah. And I remember initially, I feel through the first a couple of Zoom calls that we had together, I had put together this formal deck where I'm like, oh, this is what the color palette is going to be. This is what the typography is going to be. And after that, it just, I don't know, that was probably the first and the only time we put together a deck to show each other. Because after that, I remember I showed her the GIF and she was like, this is it. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And after that, it was,
yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I was very impressed with the deck. So I'm like, okay, great. We mean business. So when somebody comes to you with a PowerPoint presentation, they mean business. So I was very happy.
That was literally the smallest deck ever. It had like 5 slides. And just that one GIF, color palette and typography. That's it. I'm like, this is what I'm doing.
Nice. Was that your design school effect?
Yeah. More, I think not so much design school, but more of a client and designer relationship. And then I kept forgetting that she's actually my sister. Like, I don't need to behave like this with her. Like, I don't need to put together decks every single time we meet for, just chatting about the project. So yeah, it started off like that. But then after that, it just took off very naturally because we just knew what we wanted out of that project. Yeah.
Right. Makes sense. So how was your process for building it? Like, where you so Adhishree made something, she shared it with you, then Shivani did something on top of that. Like, how was that exchange? What sort of tools did you use, or was it just a call or something, or you had like a docs in place, Google Docs, or some place to see work, just to understand the technical bits behind the exchange?
Yeah, I think, just to even take one step, before all of that, I think what we wanted to do was we wanted to highlight stories of people who usually don't show up in mainstream media. So it's not like, a chef or a well-known writer. It's literally like our friends or, friends who we know think about food a little differently or have a story that they want to share. And so it was kind of making that first list. And we thought that we put out good 8-9 stories, and then it'll grow organically. So the first step was actually to make that list and to curate it, because we wanted to launch it together. So curate, a diverse set of stories. And so I would reach out to people, we would have a conversation. So a lot like this, recorded Zoom interviews, and then I would transcribe them, I would write something. And then through that process on Google Docs, I would share that with Shivani. And then she would also give me her reaction to say, okay, this is feeling good. Do we want to explore that angle a little bit more, or, this is perfect, let's go ahead. Or I have enough for illustration, I need a little bit more. So we would go back and forth a little bit. And then I think we had like a live document where she would just kind of take stuff from, and then it was her magic, which I will let her talk about. How text actually transformed into illustration is her zone.
Yeah, but I think that process of actually illustrating everything was fun, because I don't do a lot of illustration. So this project was a big challenge for me too. And I knew that I had to do justice to the beautiful words that Adhishree was writing in a way that doesn't seem like it's, done in a lazy way or just sort of put together or just scrambled together. So I knew that I had to make that extra effort to make sure that, the illustration is as appealing as the article itself. And I think initially we started off with like a very basic idea of what we wanted the website to look. It shouldn't look like a block of text with images, sprinkled through, but something a little more engaging, something that feels a little more inviting than other typical food blogs or food websites. So introducing a level of interaction, or, on the about page, we have Adhishree's face and mine just flying across the screen. So those little customizations, like I thought of those right from the beginning, because I knew that there has to be something on the website that sets us apart from what you usually see on food websites. Right. So I think thinking about that process, along with knowing that, I have to illustrate and read through the articles and see how we can put in pictures and other forms of interaction throughout, was, I feel, the biggest challenge throughout the whole process.
Right. Interesting. The question on the web design is like, who did you do the website, like the design from the scratch, or how was it?
Yeah, so we started working with Cargo, because I think Cargo is a platform that gives you enough liberty to create your customizations, and their templates itself sort of lend themselves to different forms of creativity and different levels of creativity, which I thought was really fun. And I worked with Cargo. I used a Cargo website for my own website. So I I was familiar with the interface. I knew what I can tweak. So again, I do not code at all. So some of those customizations, I had to do a little bit of reading and going on to different forums and figuring out what the code is and doing all of that HTML and Java and CSS stuff, which thankfully, like, now that it's in place, I'm never going to look at it ever again. but Cargo was where we sort of started building the website. So it was a blank template, so to say, but we didn't code anything in except the customizations on the website.
Right. So, interesting. Super. Because now the ease of building is there. That's why you could really come up with much better ideas, because you are not stuck with the execution part. Absolutely. Per se. So I think the website looks like damn cool. Like, it's on point. No nonsense here and there. It's on, like, it's exactly as Adhishree was saying. It should give you the experience along with the article, and I think it's doing that magically. Even like the small details of like fork coming in the cursor and all those tiny bits and pieces are really nicely done. Adhishree, what would you say about making the copy of each article, because it should also at the end of the day should feel like it's coming under same umbrella? So how did you have, like, what kind of thought process did you have in terms of compiling and making that particular piece? I would really like to understand that part.
Sure. So I think I've been very heavily influenced by a lot of food writing the past couple of maybe almost 5 years, because I think just globally people are writing about food differently. Even your average Netflix show around food always has this element of memory and community and belonging. And so I'm very drawn to that kind of storytelling, which is a little bit more than a recipe or this is what we eat. And along the way I noticed that I was looking at my plate of food differently. I was questioning where ingredients come from, why do we eat differently than somebody else, or all of those questions were there. And I think a lot of that contributed to the kind of stories that you see on the website as well. They're
Right.
really personal kind of questions. Each of those stories, I had a question, okay, what about that? Why this? Why that?
Right.
And I think for the first set, to be, authentic to it, I just followed those. And so, I had questions around caste and food in India. And so, I kind of wanted to talk to somebody who could give me their perspective. And again, none of this is, massive opinions or, this is it and nothing beyond this. These are all personal kind of memories. And so there's an element of respecting that.
Right.
And then there is also this element of, the narrative being personal, but also collective and community, right? Like it's
Right.
a window into something larger. And so I tried to bring that into the article as well to say that, okay, while this one X, Y, and Z feels this way about certain things, this is the history behind it. And then it kind of almost in most of them ends with a larger question, which, I hope to kind of engage more with, as people come and that's the dialogue bit around table talk. Ideally I would sit across a table from you and actually ask you this question, but because it's a
Right.
one to many platform right now, it ends on that note.
Right.
And I think we also wanted to make sure that right now there are about 8 stories up, and we wanted to kind of create this, while each story takes you on a journey, I think collectively also it should take you on a journey.
Right.
And so that mix was really important for us to think about. So, there are stories about identity, belonging, like I said, caste, sustainability. So like, relationship with the planet. And so I think those were, that mix was important to think about.
Right.
And yeah, really inspired by a lot of work that you see right now, and kind of try to be the poorer cousin of those things, if at all.
Right. And how do you plan to get more stories out? Like, do you have like a schedule, or how does that work like?
Yeah, so right now I have a wonderful backlog. So I have about 3 or 4 interviews that I have to sit down and create stories around, because it involves research, it involves also being in conversation with the person whose story it is about. So it has to be representative of what they also feel. It can't just be something that is completely different from what they meant, for example.
Right.
And so we're going to put up a couple of more stories illustrated by Shivani and written by me. And then the idea is to really open it up for collaboration. So, illustrators, artists, photographers, as well as, people who want to write. We don't want to, be big gatekeepers of content with this platform. We want to make sure, whoever has a story, they have some form of, way of contributing to this. And if somebody needs the help of a writer, if somebody has a story, we want to be that platform that kind of makes those connections for people.
Right.
And hopefully after the pandemic, even events, like I am imagining a nice dinner with all of these stories and all of these recipes and stuff like that. So right now we're limited to this online platform, but I think the possibilities are plenty after, things open up.
Yeah, that will be really cool, no? Like you really would appreciate it with more senses than just visuals and
Absolutely.
colors. So
Yeah.
that would
Fingers
be so
crossed.
cool. Yeah, because I was already wondering about the audio factor, like how it can play with that in the stories, like create ambient sounds or link it to some playlist or something like that. That part has been always interesting to bring like one more element in. But yeah, having physical event with food and stories and conversations with table in between or something like that would be like totally amazing thing to do.
Yeah. Dream.
Super. Yeah, I'm just thinking about how many things you could do with it, like workshops with it, like making recipes with different cultures, cross culture stuff and everything. So that's the physical part when we have it in future. But right now, what is the like core channel for readers to be part of this community? Because as you said, it's the stories are online and then people read it. But just trying to understand that other aspect where community can join together, because right now it might be community of people reading, but they might not feel like community because they might not be connected. So how do you picture that right now, or is there a possibility already?
I mean, I would love to, I think through, I guess, platforms like Zoom, recreate a part of that that ideal physical table talk on, online, bringing people together. We do want to do something with the people who have already contributed to the platform, bring them together for a dialogue with key questions. And also have them interact with each other, because they're on this platform. So that table talk community is something that is at the back of our mind. But I think before we get there, there's a little bit of more work to do to just establish it a little bit more before the community aspect emerges. And we hope that by the linking of artists with content writers, with photographers, that kind of facilitates a little bit of that. And then eventually, we have a nice group of people who just associate themselves with the platform and, I don't know, table talk homies or whatever we want to call it. I don't know.
Nice.
I'm just trying to be young. But,
Good one.
But yeah, I don't know, Shivani, what do you think about this community bit, and how design can potentially aid that?
I think what you said was, of course, something that even I've been thinking about, is trying to get folks who are already reading the articles and the ones who are featured to come together, talk about all of the food that they have grown up with or they have memories associated with, and possibly even do a virtual masterclass where somebody is actually cooking and you cook along with them. And all of this in a digital space for how much ever time that's going to last. But after that, I think even speaking about how we can extend this into a physical space, I think I love the idea of people coming together and learning something from somebody who is extremely passionate about it. I think that is basically Adhishree. What Adhishree said is, I think it totally puts everything together. But I think from a design point of view, we are also trying to see how we could put this together into a publication. This is possibly a dream at some point of time when we have enough stories, is to just provide a tactical form of information and all of the things that we are putting together right now, so that it can reach a larger audience and people can actually sit down, read recipes and cook through everything that they're reading online. So I think design and getting people together in a physical space. I don't know if I did justice to that question, but yeah, but it was that sums it up, I think.
Yeah, but interesting addition. Also about the point you said where you could potentially have like a online stuff where everybody can cook together, but then also providing them with the ingredients. Let's say if the dish is from somewhere else, and if you don't have ingredients, then sending them curated ingredients and all those things are also super cool. And just wow. Like
you should join our team.
Absolutely. I was just about to say that. I'm like, okay, Suyog is throwing all these cool ideas, like curating little kits and sending them to people. I didn't think of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
no, this is what I usually do for a living. No, but would be cool, because that experience part you can bring it home, no? Even like opening the box and figuring out, oh, these are the ingredients, and then I'll be cooking. And it also kind of gets you into that IKEA effect, no? Like if you, example, get a chair directly, or if you get the parts and make the chair, the chair, even if it's not good, but if you make it, the feeling you have about it is much more deeper. And it's the same, no? Like instead of getting just their prepared food, you cook with somebody and you talk about something and then you eat it. That's like the whole wholesome thing. So it's very interesting. Super. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just,
and
yeah.
infinite form of learning. I mean, once you
Yeah.
learn it, you can just keep making it for yourself over and over. And I think
Yeah.
that's the joy of sharing memories associated with food.
Yeah, and also giving the recipes out in a story format, like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
again different. It's like your grandma telling you something and then telling, "Oh, my grandma used to cook it like that," and then she used to go somewhere and get and getting those ingredients placed in the story. It's like just brilliant. Cool. So let's say we'll talk about the collaboration part, but before that, I would like to understand how are you reaching to people right now? Like, what kind of people are reading this? How are you making sure that it reaches to right people? And of course, then we'll talk about how you made it inside the Apple launch event as a showcase, because that is also super cool. So let's first begin with the kind of audience you have and the kind of things you're doing to reach them with your content, and then we'll talk about the Apple event.
We were actually thinking a lot about people who are not at home. I think, and that's a really, really kind of broad thing. And we don't, necessarily mean people who are physically not at home, but, they could be at home but don't feel at home.
Right.
And then you can physically be away and those kinds of things. So whoever kind of needs a hug, needs to be reminded of something similar, needs to find familiarity in a story that comes from halfway across the world. I think those were the people that we had in mind, because also like we said, this was in the thick of the pandemic. We were all cut off from whoever we loved and things that were familiar, and we're not allowed to do things that we loved doing. So it came from that need and wanted to also reach out to people who wanted something similar. So we kept it as broad as that. But I think what we're noticing the past couple of months is generally folks who are potentially like late 20s, early 30s, who are really kind of understanding this kind of storytelling. They're also more receptive to this kind of design a little bit, because people tend to want to consume content in a certain way, and so we're kind of, I think that's our sweet demographic, if anything. And it's also appealing, I think, because of the aesthetic. It's appealing to a Western crowd, I think, in many ways. So we're seeing a lot of eyeballs from the West for the website, for this kind of storytelling. And so we don't know what to do with that right now, but it's like just a post-it, like, okay, this is interesting that people from that part of the world are finding this cool and interesting, and are reaching out to us about things. So that's what we know about our audience right now, and hopefully through the collaborators that we will bring on board, we'll try and diversify that a little bit. So
Right.
even age, region, we can play around with language. Right now it's all English, but hopefully, and like you said, with audio we can actually put actual voice as well. Of people. So I think that will help us diversify, because then we're crowdsourcing stuff. Right now it's really dependent on our network. But the minute we open up the platform, we're hoping for that kind of cool stuff to come in.
Right. Shivani?
Yeah, I think this is one thing that I noticed since I came to the States. And after 3 years of living here, I think my classmates were from all over the world, and we spoke about each other's food, and they had probably no idea about what I was eating, because Indian food in America is North Indian food. So there's
Right.
chana masala, saag paneer, whatever
Right.
that is, and chicken tikka masala. I mean, people thought that, oh, that is what I eat at home. And I was like, no, I eat a completely different cuisine with completely different spices and preparations that probably this part of the world has no idea about. So I think during that process, I mean, even when I was in school, I worked on a lot of projects that involved food. And I think that opening up that conversation with my classmates just made me realize that, oh, there is so much potential to sort of opening up table talk to everybody else, is that people have so much to contribute, and not just from as Adhishree said, like not just English speakers, but I had Korean classmates and Japanese classmates who spoke about food that I had never even heard of. So to
Right.
hear their stories and pull that aspect into Table Talk, I think would be the next big step for both of us.
Cool. Totally relatable because I also spent a lot of time in Milan and Berlin, and I also had a lot of people in my class from various parts of the world. So it was more like sitting together, even like basic lunch break at university. Everybody
Yeah.
was pulling out some different weird things sometimes, and then everybody was curious to understand what is it, and that was interesting. Like one experience I remember, I had gotten the parcel from my mom. She basically sent the Diwali Farar, and I just took the box directly at the university, and then everybody was so curious. I just opened it, and it just like vanished in minutes. But everybody was like so, like they had different they imagined, like they saw the food, but they imagined it to be something else. But then when they ate it, it was completely different. So that exchange was crazy. So yeah, that would be an interesting thing to know, even from like a reader perspective. Super. And right now, Instagram is the primary place for you guys to push to get people to the website.
I would say so. Yeah. And just sharing it on our individual Instagrams so that our followers and our friends and family see it, and then pass it on through the WhatsApp network that all of our family members are on.
Right.
Yeah, definitely that's the biggest point of contact right now.
Cool. And
Yeah,
is
and
new.
also I think
Yeah.
potentially looking at, just to add, sorry, to Shivani's point, is also I think there are a lot of food journals that are coming up, both in India and
Mm-hmm.
around the world. So what are ways to collaborate, at that level, to be almost a funnel of stories for them, and whether it's on the art side, which I think we've done a really, really good job of, or whether it's this access to people through our network. So I think there's a bit of collaboration that's waiting to happen even on that front,
Right.
um, to kind of again elevate the conversation and to bring more attention to it. So we're hoping to do that also in the coming months as this builds.
Right. Interesting. Just one thing which I wanted to share, like some time ago, because when we were talking, it just came in my head. We as in me and my parents and Prachi, we was yesterday only, last night when we were having dinner, we watched the episode of Ranveer Brar. There is this series on YouTube called Slow Interviews, and these are very super chill, very nicely done interviews. Nothing like they sit in a farmhouse of the host. I forgot the name of the host. Do you remember the name of the host? Nilesh Mishra. Yeah. So his name is Nilesh Mishra. A very famous storyteller guy. He used to work a lot on radio in Delhi, and he has this farm somewhere in Bihar or UP. Now he stays in his countryside farm, and he brings all the guests there at his farm, and then they are just sitting under a tree having conversations, having chai in between. Super nice format, very slow. And Ranveer, as one of the celebrity chefs, let's say, he was there and he was talking about the storytelling part of food and how he learned to cook and what he thinks about cooking, what he thinks about the headspace while cooking, and how the personality can also, like the personality of the cook, how it reflects in the food and what sort of elements are there. So that it's a very nice conversation. So just look it up if you get
Yeah,
time. It's a very
absolutely.
nice
Sounds fun.
discussion. And I think if you like that, then you will also enjoy the other interviews. It's the same format. Super cool, super chill. So, with that, let's come back to the Apple event. So, tell me, how did that happen and how you made it to the evening? And that's how I came to know about you, because I was like, man, I have to go back in that video, watch those 3-4 seconds, and see all the websites. And just that was the discovery of you guys because of that. So, tell me, how did that happen? How you made it there?
Adhishree?
No, no, all you, all you.
Oh my God. Okay. So there's two sides to the story. So we initially got an email on the Table Talk email ID saying, "Oh, we are reaching out from the marketing communications department at Apple, and we would love to feature your website on the Safari web page that they have on Apple's website." So we're like,
Okay.
"Yeah, cool. This sounds amazing. This is a really huge opportunity for us and to just get more visibility. So we're like, yeah, definitely sign us up. It happened. So we had no idea when they were going to actually launch it, when it was going to go live. We had absolutely zero idea about that. But the day of the Apple event, 3 or 4 friends of mine sent me like videos and screenshots of the Table Talk website on the live event. And they were like, Shivani, did you know about this? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. And I was in the middle of an office meeting and I'm seeing my phone blow up on the side and everybody's sending me these videos and pictures. And I said, wait a minute, we were on the live event and we did not even know about it. So that came as a surprise. So ultimately, eventually did end up living on the Safari webpage, but I think we weren't expecting it to be launched on a global platform like that in front of hundreds and thousands of people in a live event. So that definitely came as a big surprise. But part 2 of the story, though, was so usually I think once a month or so at Spotify in the design team, we have a design share where we sort of talk about any personal projects that we're working on or anything that we're doing outside of work, even like renovating the house or whatever you want to share. So during that time, I remember I was talking about Table Talk and I shared the whole process, and everybody on the design team was looking at the presentation. And after the presentation, I shared a link saying, if you want to check the website out, you can go see it. And a colleague of mine who works in the design team at Spotify had a lot of friends at Apple. And that was the time when they were actually looking for websites, like food websites. So there was OmSom and a bunch of other places that I think were featured in the talk. And my colleague actually reached out to them and said that, oh, my colleague at Spotify is actually working on this really cool project with her cousin. You guys should check it out. And it's really fun. And she shared the website. And then that's how they sort of discovered us. And then they were like, oh my God, their work is amazing. We should reach out to them and feature their work. So that I figured that out probably 2 to 3 months after all of this happened. And I was like, Rebecca, why did you not tell me? And she's like, I wanted it to be a surprise. So she's like, enjoy. And I was like, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Oh man, that's so cool.
Exciting. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, because I saw it, and I discussed this with Adhishree when we were just catching up and planning this podcast, that out of all the websites which were featured in that particular segment, yours stood out because it had that yellow. And usually yellow, when you see it in, like, let's say fast pacing things, you tend to remember the yellow part. And that's all I get, that yellow website. It's interesting. And then later it turns out, oh man, these people are Indian origin. And then turns out also you speak Marathi. So I'm like, man, this is like so crazy. But you have some little story about that yellow, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was telling him while we were talking about how we were trying to think about, of course, before going into the palette and all of that, we were like, okay, what should the color be, like the base color? And, I was like, okay, we definitely didn't want the white and the black, because that's usually what you see. My previous kind of website had a little bit of that. So I was like, no, I wanted it to be playful. I wanted it to be, like you said, something eye-catching. And I think, because I don't stay home, I stay in Bangalore and away from home. I think Varun is just such a huge part of like all things home. And I know Shivani was also missing Varun sitting like halfway across.
The ultimate comfort food.
Exactly. And that's the color of that particular yellow. And so I asked Shivani if that would work, and she's like 100%. Let's go with that. And then we fixed on that, and then everything kind of worked around that.
Yeah. And I was like, and Adhishree was like, can we make it work? And I'm like, we have to make it work. I mean, there is no option. This website has to look like Varun. And we will make it happen.
Oh man. That also would be so cool, that you have a live event and the welcome drink or whatever we create is of Varun. And it's just that it just matches with that. And everybody's wondering like why they gave us Varun to drink in this small shot. And then you open with that story.
Again,
with
please
on top.
join our team. What are you doing?
He's literally like throwing some brilliant ideas at us right now.
Oh man,
I think
let's
we're
do it.
set.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Cool. So very interesting story, and again, like connecting the dots, right? Like you did not know, you just went ahead and presented it, and it turns out somebody liked it, and then it got shared, and then it made it to the event. And that's I always talk about also in my podcast, and whenever I talk to other designers or creatives, that you will never know what can go where. So you just keep putting out good stuff, and ultimately something will, like, not about just going viral on YouTube, like that's like a very narrow minded situation, but it opens so many different doors that you wouldn't imagine. So just keep putting it out, and it's a perfect example of some same concept. Super. So let's talk about collaboration now. As how can, let's say, people with stories, illustrators, graphic designers, how can we bridge that gap, and what are some of the steps they could take?
So I think first off, we have a beautiful type form that people can just come to. We didn't want to add this whole, pitch us an idea or come, like send us a story, because we want it to be a conversation. We want to kind of develop that relationship with our collaborators and not just have them send in stuff and, us not knowing where they come from, what the context is, why they think a certain way. And maybe that might get tricky when we get a lot of people, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now we're really particular about talking to people who this platform really connects with, both the story and the design, and of course people who bring in something that I guess Shivani and I don't. So whether it is through another medium that neither of us are familiar with, whether it's a different kind of writing, or whether it's just access to a story that we don't have access to. So right now we're looking for people who can add that extra kind of value to the platform, and then we're also thinking about what can we do with people who do write recipes, who are chefs. Can we present recipes slightly differently, like we say in a lot of, like, at least Indian households, it's like swad anusar, like can we like break that down a little bit, and really kind of read between the lines in a recipe. And so trying to work with even professional chefs and people who have worked in commercial kitchens and maybe tend to be a little bit more prescriptive. Can we like work with them to redesign the way people look at recipes? And so those are the sort of sub pages that will hopefully emerge in the coming months. And so the more so the more collaborators we have, the more I think we'll expand. And so that's what we're hoping for, that everybody kind of feels at home at Table Talk.
Right. So the type form on the website would be the destination or a place where people can go ahead and fill it up.
Yes. And so it's both a type form kind of route, or you can just even write to us if you feel like, you just want to write. So, you can just write an email to us saying, and we've got a lot of people who've done that, saying that, I love this, I have this story, but I don't know what to do with it. And so, either Shivani and I get on a call with them, and we kind of, see, okay, where would this fit in? And then they go and they do their research, and then, it's and we're not in any hurry. So we allow people the time to kind of marinate in whatever they want to write. And they go out and they do that, and they come back to us, and we're trying to see what that looks like on the website now.
Interesting. Super. And do you already have some of the guest writers or collaborators in the list who have already reached out to you in the pipeline?
Yes, we have. They're off trying to create stuff for us right now. We have about 3 of them in different parts of the world, and trying to do different sort of, again, formats. So they're currently working, and like, I said at the start, whatever they bring to us, then we kind of work around that. So there is no boundary. Well, there's a little bit of a boundary, but it's like really far off right now. So it's a sandbox for people to come, play around, and hopefully between Shivani and I, we can give them the space to do that.
Right. Interesting. I'm gonna ask you, I don't know why it was not on my agenda. I just felt like asking you, like, where do you see yourself 10 years down the line with this project?
This question. It's starting to sound like an interview now.
Oh man, I need to take interview next week for some salespeople, so might as well practice that. No, I don't ask such questions, but would love to know where would you like this project to go? And trust me, it will go beyond it, or it will go somewhere else completely, as you keep yourself open for experimentation. But right now, where do you see it going? I'll put music behind this.
Book,
maybe a Netflix show.
Nice.
I was going to say Apple event, but that's already done.
Oh man.
Like one of our first achievements was actually like an Apple event, so that's all.
Cooking on Mars with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
No, why not?
Yeah, no, but I think it's really fun to see just like, like you say, it's we can say so many things that, this is where we wanted to be in 10 years and it could be somewhere else. And that's exactly what's happened in just 6 months. Because I think we didn't imagine this to, go into spaces that it is in right now, because we just thought, okay, we'll put something out there, we'll see what it does, how it lands with people. We'll use Instagram to reach out to folks, and that's about it. Right. But the fact that, designers are looking at it, a lot of our followers on Instagram are predominantly like designers, and of course a few travel and food magazine writers, etc. But it's interesting to see how design and content is, almost equal for a platform like this, which we haven't seen before. So I think just even following the design route will be a really interesting way to go. And of course, the stories will come along, but maybe it's a more design heavy kind of thing in the coming years, given the attention that it's got. So that's why we're thinking a lot about like a book and stuff like that, where it's really visual and tactile for people to look at food differently and literally look at food differently. Yeah. Let's see.
Cool. If you decide to do a Netflix show, me and Prachi would be very more than happy to help you with. I'd love to make videos, and
a bunch of girls can dream.
Sorry?
A bunch of girls can dream. Of course, Netflix would be awesome.
Yeah, because she already does the behind the scene for Netflix. I'm not saying that she is our primary touch point, but yeah, we love to create doc stuff.
So you got a bit worried over there. He's like, oh shit.
Shouldn't have said that. No, but yeah, we are also exploring that. Architecture is one thing we really want to explore. We just shot our first house together. Also, like our first project after the wedding together. Never kind of worked together. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
That's got to be an awesome collaboration as well, right? Like just collaborating with your partner.
Yeah, so we are also just learning, because now I'm not holding my camera, which I usually do, and she is taking that. So I just direct and edit. But yeah, it's a nice thing. So would be cool to explore. Okay. Awesome. With that, guys, I think we covered most of it. Do you guys have anything more to ask, share, something which was on in your head and we did not touch upon? Adhishree has a list.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't.
Wow, I am literally sitting here with nothing around me.
I should have had
the list. Now you know why like the things go out in such an organized manner, because all of Adhishree.
So I think we covered pretty much everything we wanted to talk about, like from the origin story and exploring how you guys building it and where do you want to take it and the collaboration bit. Where can we, of course, there is a website and it will be linked down below in the description, but where would you like these guys to come to? I would like to hear it from you guys. And also if you want our readers, no, not the readers, if you want our listeners to also come to your profiles, if you have something going on your personal profiles also, that would be cool to know. So just let us know where they can reach out for the project and you as an individual.
So I think I think we just want to invite everybody to our Instagram page. I think that's where all the fun stuff, goes out. We feel like that's also the first place where a little bit of that dialogue and community building can start happening, because it's a platform that literally allows that. So we want as many people as possible to come and sort of just hang around on that platform. And we're at Join Our Table Talk. That's our handle on Instagram. And then, of course, our website is joinourtabletalk.com, where you can come and actually experience and explore stories and, all the other pages that will come up in the coming months. And I think Shivani's profile is public on Instagram, where she puts up just brilliant stuff, in terms of design. So a lot of her projects are showcased there. So I'll let Shivani kind of invite folks to her platform.
Absolutely. So if you want to reach out to either Adhishree or I individually, you can do that too. Adhishree's handle is @parasness and I'm Shivani Parasness on Instagram. So if you want to look at the behind the scenes of how we work with Table Talk and other projects, I think going to our personal handles is also another way of reaching out to us. And I think following the Instagram, so following Join Our Table Talk, that's where we post all our updates, upcoming stories, exciting stuff that we think is interesting, that's related to what we are doing. So I think that's where you want to be. That's where all the good stuff is.
Super. And I'll make sure that all the links are in the description, so it's easier for people to just come there and see. With that, I would really thank you guys to making sure that this happens, because both of you are in different time zones and we are kind of almost opposite day cycles. So we made it, especially Shivani, because she's in States and me and Adhishree are in India. So that was easy for us. But thank you for taking out time on your Saturday evening, afternoon, and spending it with having this conversation means super duper a lot. And I really had fun in the whole conversation, and it was really it always excites me when there are new projects and people are talking about their ideas and the thought process. Those are some of the things even I like to learn, listen to, and just enjoy having that kind of conversation. So that also happened, and it was super nice experience for me. So thank you for doing that. And yeah, just thanks for coming on the channel. And today, actually, just a side fact, today only I just recorded the 100th episode. So you are our first guest after the century. So that's gonna be interesting.
No,
Super.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Suyog. I think this has been so much fun. I think for a young idea to get recognized like this is really important. It's a boost of confidence for us that you kind of reached out to us, notice us in that half a second in that Apple launch and reached out and offered us this space. I think we're really, really grateful. We've never done this before, so it's been awesome to just sit and have a conversation with somebody who we've never met before, but loves the idea. So I think this is what Table Talk is about, and we hope to do many more of these. So big thank you and big congratulations on your 100.
Super, thank you so much. Oh man, we should have brought food here while having doing the podcast.
Why did we not think of this?
I know, right? Yeah, we should have done that. We leave that for our Netflix show.
The Netflix show, yes.
Yes, the Netflix show, right?
We can't give out everything in one go.
Super. So that's all from this episode of Daily Ish Pod. I had a lot of fun while having this conversation with the girls from Table Talk, Adhishree and Shivani. I hope you also found some sort of value from this podcast. And if you did, we will be super duper happy about that. That's all from my side. And I hope to catch you in more videos on the Fun Indian Guy channel. Right now, we are running a lot of innovation case studies and good practices or best practices. So if you're interested in that, check out our videos. It will be amazing if you also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. At the same time, if you're interested in learning about these amazing people from across the globe and also learning about different creative practices and design practices and innovation stuff, come to Daily Ish Pod so you can listen to it. We drop episodes daily-ish. And yeah, that's pretty much it. With that said, I'll catch you in the next video or in the next podcast. Till that time, just take care, stay safe, and keep building amazing things. And thanks for listening. Ciao.